All right. Good morning, everyone. We are live. Not sure where
Good
Jack is.
morning.
Jack is supposed to be with us. Oh, he'll be here in a couple of seconds. So he's trying to find his phone holder, he says. But good morning, everyone. We got Harrison, Trade Better 99 here. And we got Derek, first time on the live with us. And I did an interview with him recently. So he's in Florida, mobile home park investing. And I got his YouTube channel in the comments.
Yeah, I'm
So
excited.
welcome. Yeah, this is going to be fun. So this question kind of our main topic, and before comments start rolling in, but Harrison kind of had a question. I guess it's kind of his topic as far as maybe when to pivot or how do we evaluate when we might want to maybe invest in different asset classes or how do we evaluate our portfolio. So, yeah, Trey, where did that question come from for you, man?
Sure. Yeah. My buy box right now is in Akron, Ohio, and I've been noticing that single family houses have been on the market longer and the rents don't add up as well as the multifamilies, duplexes, triplexes. But I've also noticed that those assets are also on longer days and they're actually doing a 1 to 3% reduction on their rates. And it usually depends on the quality, of course, but it's also just you're noticing odd items. And I pulled the dumb money approach where I'm actually going in asking people like, okay, so what's the issue here? Why are people holding out? And you just kind of go into the chat groups, kind of say, hey, why are you seeing this? And you're kind of getting a mixture of, well, we're kind of nervous, and also it's like we don't know, we're just trying to find a better deal. And there's just a lot of hold up right now. And I was wondering what other markets we're looking at or other asset classes are doing that.
Cool. So Derek, I know you do mobile home parks. Do you have any other asset classes in your portfolio?
I do not. I do not. I'm strictly mobile home parks. I'm a and it's funny when you had this topic about knowing when to pivot because I'm a very much like, hey, let's find one thing and go. And I feel like in some aspects that actually hurt me because I should have gotten into real estate faster. But yeah, I'm just mobile home parks.
So did you ever do like single family homes, apartments or anything, or it was strictly from the beginning? It was just mobile home parks.
No, it was strictly from the beginning. Mobile home parks. First property, it was a
Wow.
22 unit mobile home park, and so I pivoted and I got into it kind of at a super high gradient park, like a very difficult value add turnaround park. So it was essentially a deal that most people that you talk to in the business would say, don't do this kind of deal, and it was that kind of deal. And so I pivoted into something kind of crazy and loony, but it taught me a lot of skills and I was able to run in there and sort of figure it out.
So how do you guys like, I guess, are you guys like analyzing the market to maybe like determine what your next step is? Or like for you, Derek, are you just like you're saying, this is my asset class. I'm going to kind of figure it out in this asset class, how to make things work.
Well, yeah, that's one part of it, but the market is what like super super important to me. Like you have to be in a great market, and I like being in markets that like cannot be that are the best markets. Yes, it's harder to buy there. Yes, it's more expensive. Yes, there's more competition. But like Tampa, Florida, if I screw up, that market is still going to pull me up, right? It's still going to pull me up. Like if I make a mistake, the market can save me versus if I buy in a smaller market, let's say in the middle of nowhere in Iowa or something, like the market's not going to save me as much. And I always like when I'm looking at deals, I look at it from an exit strategy perspective too. Like who's going to come buy this deal from me? Like who's going to come buy it? And if I have a deal in, Tampa, Orlando, Florida, there's going to be more people that are going to come in there and want. There's going to be more demand for that, right? So I can sell it for more. And so a market is huge to me because I've learned too that it makes everything faster. Lease up, filling up vacant lots, homes, it's faster. And I like to move fast.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Jack finally found his phone holder, so he can join us right now. So Jack is in the Pittsburgh real estate market, doing some house hacking and some cool stuff up there. So Morning, Jack.
Hey, Jack.
Morning.
Okay.
Morning.
Yeah, you got your shades on. How many hats you got today? You're gonna change into
3.
3. All right, cool. But yeah, so Harrison, what about you, man? So what? So like you said, you're looking at your market. I mean, are you actually thinking about pivoting into something else or even a different market?
So that's the big question is I'm debating, and it was really funny because Derek, I watched your interview with Mark and it made me really consider because there was also, what's his name in Fayetteville that's also doing mobile home parks. And just down the road in Williamsburg, one just popped up, 73. I was like, okay, this might be out of my price range, but it kind of popped out of my, into my mindset. And but within Akron, I'm still thinking that there's something to be found. I'm just noticing, okay, how low can I get rents before I buy my next asset class? Because right now there's brand new builds that are on the market 60, 70 days for flips. It's like, okay, might be time to make a disrespectful offer. So that's where I'm trying to figure out when's the action? When can I go for this? And so I'm just throwing everything up in the air right now.
Cool. What about you, Jack? Are you strictly single family real estate or I mean small multis, or are you looking to pivot to a different asset class?
I've actually been thinking recently more about pivoting into something different. So in this area, property or the gas company's been coming through or and leasing royalties has become a big thing for the oil and gas industry. And for what they're paying per acre, I could buy one piece of property potentially for the same price as a multi-family and be pulling in almost the same amount as I would towards the end of our portfolio. So I've been thinking about doing a pivot and trying to do something like that. And then the thing is, the wells dry up after like 30 or 35 years. I was doing research and talking to gas companies. So I'm still thinking about using at least 3/4 of what I get in royalties to buy more real estate so that when the wells are done, I still have something to live off of.
I like that. I also want to say good morning to Sierra Homes and Hustles. She's been super busy. I know she's been traveling, but actually this topic also kind of came up with one of her ex posts, but I did put her YouTube channel and her Instagram. So if you need merchandise or anything, want to talk about side hustles and real estate, go reach out to her. I'm trying to look for her, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if you remember Harrison, but she kind of posted something about
Yeah.
I think it was her kid or kind of kids growing up today, like just pivoting, right? So
Yeah.
I'll
I have
look
the
for
quote
it.
if you want.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So the barrier to entry for homeownership is becoming more out of reach. Already at 71% of 18 to 24 living with their parents, and employment for college grads is sitting at 13%. It's a distinct and easily noticeable shift. Don't be the parent that won't pivot from norms.
And then Harrison basically replied to like this is something that's been on his mind for a while, right? I think
Yeah.
like, and that's the struggle too. Is kind of just always looking at how because everyone always talks about too, like you're right there, right? Like right behind the door, is success maybe, right? So it's that hard part of how do you keep going or how do you keep going down this path when maybe pivoting is the right answer, right? We always talk about it. I really think it always comes down to having the right community, people around you, so you can bounce these ideas off of, right? So even like you, Derek, you're specifically in mobile home park, and I have not, I don't know anything about it. I don't know anyone in that asset class, but it's just good to see like what's happening there in that field or that asset class, and it's just to get different ideas and a different perspective on things. Yeah. And I know, Jared, you have some young kids also. Is this something as far as like a parenting thing that you ever thought about, like just in life too, like pivoting at certain beliefs or thoughts as far as education and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm always like changing. Like I never want to be the same person like that I was yesterday because, I'm always seeking knowledge and seeking more wisdom and things, and like as a parent, like it's tough, man. You never feel like you don't know if you're doing it right or not. Like I don't know. Like sometimes I'm like, okay, like am I doing this right? Did I handle that situation correctly? And I think it's just kind of, you know, handling it as it comes. But I'm always trying to find ways to get better. I'm always trying to find ways to learn. Maybe there's some kind of blind spot. Like I love talking to guys like you because you guys maybe give me another perspective on like, okay, let's look at this differently. Or even, I have mentors that are like, hey, Derek, you're not looking at this. Like your pro forma is missing this. I'm like, oh shit, like, all right, so fix that now, right? I won't make that mistake again. But yeah, even as a parent and just generally in life, I think it's important for people to, not be super egotistical and be like, oh, I'm completely right about things. And, open up to other perspectives because you can actually get like, you may not 100% agree with this person, but they may have something in there that's valuable.
Yeah, I 100% agree because now that I have a little one on the way, it's all of a sudden these things are like, oh my goodness. It's like, what do I do? Do I plan for college? Do I plan for, okay, you're going for a trade, or it's all these questions that are coming up in my mind. And I mean, right now, the one constant is like, okay, well, we'll put you more towards real estate. Something real estate related. And I mean, at least for now, that is a constant that's going to be out there for a need.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like for your kids so like my daughter, she's 3.5 and she hears me talk about real estate. I'll be listening to something and then she's like picking it up now. She's like, oh, he said real estate. And I'm like, well, this is real estate. Like we own these properties, we take care of them and people pay us rent every month. Right. And so I think it's like super important to teach your kids that because the way that the economy is going now, like, for someone to just like you need to have some kind of wealth building thing to combat inflation, to combat all the other craziness that's going on. And so real estate is that thing and like planning for your kids' future. Like if you have, $10 million, a $10 million portfolio, I would have to imagine that that's going to shoot off enough cash flow for you to take care of your family if something happens. But
Yep. And then just want to shout out, I guess Jack is working on a logo. I don't know about this, but I guess
Nice.
Sierra's working on a logo for you. So she's working on it right now. So I don't know. Trade Better might need a logo soon too, Sierra. So
I
he
know.
might be reaching out.
I need to know if she does gibbets. I need it for my Crocs. So
Yeah. Oh, that's the one thing too. I don't know if you guys all watch Friends, but there's only one person that made a comment about the whole pivot thing in all my posts for the live coming out. There's only one person. I know Sierra knows what I'm talking about,
Mhm.
but we did have a question back here. Let's see. I put it up earlier, but we kind of got off track. So let's see. So Jack, what about you, man? How do you determine if an investment is underperforming and needs a different approach? For the live coming out, there's only one person. I know Sierra knows. Jack, are you there, man?
Yeah, sorry. My earbuds glitched up. I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, so how do you determine if an investment is underperforming and needs a different approach?
Well, if you're losing money. I mean, that's the short answer. No, there's several things I would look at. Losing money being one of the biggest, but the second biggest for me would be the PIA factor. If it's causing you more headaches and more stresses, it could be the tenants that are inside of it, even, or if you're I'll give you a prime example. I was thinking of selling one of my properties just because it was on a hill and on a one-way street where parking was difficult, and with the way the market is right now, I could clear about $40,000 to $50,000 selling it. And I was actually thinking about selling it because for the longest time I couldn't keep a tenant in it for longer than 6 months, and they get tired of dealing with the parking situation and walking up the steep hill, every day. So I was actually thinking about getting rid of it because trying to place a tenant in there twice a year was getting to be too much.
Yeah. I think
I would say something on that too is like, you're definitely right. Like the losing money factor, but like your business plan, if your business plan going in is X and that is not working. Like, we had a property that we bought. It was a big property, and we were getting in a new market, a different market than the typical markets that we're in. And we didn't realize that, because typically we'll go in and actually, if we own the homes, we sell them off to the tenants to make them tenant owned. And so we had planned to do that at this particular property. And it come to find out, it's a renter's market there. Like, people just don't like to own their own homes. And so we had to pivot there. We had to pivot and actually start, adapt the business model to keep rentals in there. It's not ideal, but the business plan wasn't being executed as fast as we had initially thought. Revenue wasn't as great as we thought, but you have to be able to pivot when those things happen.
Say it like the Friends. Pivot.
Pivot.
No, but yeah. So Sierra Homes and Hustle says, the will college be relevant question seems to be the big one to consider. And yeah, that's going to be a tough one. Even like for, I don't know about your guys' area, but like in Hawaii, private school for our kids is kind of a big deal. And, some of the schools are like $30,000 a year for the private schools out here. And, it's a big decision for parents. And even one of my coworkers, he's on the fence now if he's going to continue sending his son to private school. But yeah, man, it's a tough one. I mean, you really got to be around people that, like you said, see your blind spots maybe, right? And what the end goal is. And like, we're talking about evaluating markets and properties. And like Derek made a great point. Like, it's kind of like, what is your end goal plan, right? So maybe the property or what your asset class is not performing exactly what you wanted at this moment, but it's just maybe like a bump in the road that's going to take you to that end goal that you're looking for, right? So that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got. One other question, Derek, since you're new here, I don't know, but are you a Crocs fan? That is my thing. I wear Crocs.
My kids wear Crocs. I don't. I'm just not a bit, I've never tried them.
Right.
But maybe I should.
You're one and done in the lives with us then.
Yeah.
Nah.
No, you just got to get your first, and then everything will change.
Then the game's over. Okay,
Game's
got
over.
it. I'm going to go get a pair.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get a pair this weekend. I'll give my wife an excuse to go to the mall. And, she loves that. I'm like, give me a pair of black Crocs. I can wear them with anything. And I'm going to come on here with Mark and Harrison and be like, hey, guys, I love these freaking Crocs.
Yep. See it. There it is.
It's like you're looking at it. You're just saying, oh, no, I don't want this. But then once you put them on your feet, because I was the same way. I was like, wow, okay. And do you
get the little things to put on the top of them? The little
I'm thinking about it now because little gibbets. Because
the gibbets, yes.
Yeah. If Sierra makes them, I will get some.
But Sierra hates them, so that's why she said, "Attaboy, Derek." She can't stand them. But let's see. How do you assess the risk associated with your current investment strategy? Who wants to take this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say something on this. It's like, you can have an investment strategy, right? But if you've never tried to execute it, it's going to be a little bit harder to associate or to really look at the risks and assess those, because there's going to be unforeseen stuff in your particular business plan that you're not going to get until you actually go in there and start going after it. There can be things that you can okay, this might happen, or Mark's done this before and he said this may happen. So that's one thing. You could talk to people who have done that particular kind of investment strategy before and say, hey, what are the things to look out for? But in my experience, even when you do that, there's going to be these little nuance things that are a pain in the ass that you didn't foresee, that you didn't look at, that you're not going to get experience doing unless you actually get into a deal and implement that business plan, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know. I guess for me, I look at my exit strategy. If I can minimize, even losses to that's how I really go for it. If I can make enough money, go forward. And if it's not working 5 years from now, if I know that the market isn't going too high or too low, I feel like it's a win either way.
Jack, you got anything on this?
I think it's just always trying to plan for the future for the most part, because like Derek says, there's always going to be things that go wrong that you just didn't expect. So, adding an extra cushion of 10 to 20% can be what you need in order to make a good deal, a bad deal. But at least if you have yourself covered and have to float in order to do a flip, for example, on what you thought was going to be a rental, might be what you end up having to do in the end.
Yeah,
But I guess it goes back to
no, go, man.
I guess it goes back to what today's topic is, and just not being afraid to pivot under certain circumstances.
Yeah, that's a great point too, and I think that is I don't know if you guys know Chris Invest Lynchburg, but that's another topic he wants to discuss at a later date. But we kind of came up with this ego tax kind of thing where people, they're so afraid of what their friends are thinking, or so sometimes they feel like they have to get a great deal, and they're worried about what other people are looking at what they're doing. So even talking about pivoting. Oh shoot, hold on. I gotta plug my charger in. I forgot. Oh, shoot, hold
I
on.
want to say something on one thing
go
you
ahead.
said, Mark, about people thinking that they need a great deal. So in my experience, I've bought a bunch of properties. There's only been one that I thought I was stealing. All the other ones, like at some point in due diligence, I'm like, fuck, I'm paying too much for this. Going through it right now. Like going through it right now. I'm like, man, I think we're paying too much for this deal. It happens on every deal. At least for me, it does. But then, like, once you get into the deal a few years later, like, I thought this back in 2021, but now I look back at those deals, I'm like, man, we did steal those deals. But in present time, you're going to be like, I think I'm paying too much for this, at least in my experience.
I would follow up with that. Do you think that it would be the level of heartburn that you get? Because I felt like when I was looking at properties, like, okay, I'll have a little bit of heartburn. I might be losing some on this, but they're the ones that it's like too much heartburn. I'm not going to sleep well with this one.
Yeah. I mean, it's for sure. For sure.
All right, we're back. I forgot to plug my charger in. So see, we're live. We got to just deal with these. See, like
Exactly.
deal with these kind of things. We got to roll with
live.
it. But yeah, just going back to the ego tax, right? It's kind of like you're worried about what people are like. If you do lose money, right, like on a deal because you feel like it's your best move to pivot, people are going to be looking, oh, see, I told you how risky it was. I told you about real estate and all these things, or whatever you do decide to invest in. But I think that's the one thing, and it's really trusting what you're seeing and realizing that you're not. This is just your decision, right? You're not going to worry about what someone else thinks. I mean, yeah, you're going to take their input, but at the end of the day, it comes down to kind of how you're evaluating things, and it might be the best move for you. And I think Ned, who's also comes on the live once in a while, he's pivoting where he's selling his primary residence because of where the market is in New Orleans, and he's moving back in with in-laws to kind of get more capital and kind of improve his portfolio based on all the insurance costs that have gone up and things like that. So that's how he's pivoting to kind of take advantage or kind of reposition himself in the market that he's in right now.
Yeah, that's been a big plan for me too, because I'm thinking about, well, shoot, no, like Derek was saying, it's like all of a sudden my okay deal turned into being a great deal for my Virginia place, and now I'm thinking, well, how about I just get a duplex, kind of lower the costs for a bit, weather out whatever's happening, and then it's like, okay, let's resettle here and then go to the next spot. So it's been a lot of conversations with the missus, but she's on board. It's all of a sudden now that she's been seeing the real estate kind of go through, because she was pretty nervous about starting off, but now that we're seeing the process go through, she's like, okay, I like this. We're going through it. So
It's good to have a spouse on the same page.
yeah,
For sure.
And then what about you, Jack? Your girlfriend, did she buy something recently, or she's still looking?
Well, it's the whole time that you've known me, she's been doing a extended uh, live-in flip where she's remodeling a room every year. And this year we're going to take a break on the inside. We're going to work on the outside a little bit. We're going to put in a new porch and stuff. Her, she wants to buy a new place and then start the whole process over again of doing a live-in flip. And that's kind of her goal. And then just run everything out. And when she goes to flip, she's going to rent it and then just refinance it at that point.
Nice. Are you guys documenting that on your YouTube channel also?
No, because she doesn't like her house being on camera.
Hmm. Well, I put your channel in there and go check it. Jack scared himself in one of his videos. He was doing a walkthrough showing his new property, and he had the camera and it was in the mirror. He's like, "Whoa!" Mikey told me about that. So, but that was a good one, man. But yeah. So
Does mirror
Derek,
sneak up on you?
they do extended live and flip. So that's what Sierra's kind of doing also.
Yeah.
In Tennessee is kind of a live-in flip kind of thing, and so on the side she's doing merchandise, side hustles. I still think she's doing the hive mapper, the driving. You get paid to drive. Pet sitting, she loves cats now because she gets to cat sit. But Derek, I know in the news right now, Biden's talking about like rent control, right? Does that affect mobile home parks also? How does that play?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how that law will shape out, but I mean, rent control, I mean, is not good. I mean, if you look at where, it's been implemented, it clearly hasn't worked, right? Because think about it, if you're a property owner and you're buying this, the property we're closing on next week, we're bringing about, I don't know, 250, 300 grand for CapEx, right? So we do that. We go in and pave the roads. We put new lights up, new mailboxes, redo the landscaping, signs, and all this stuff, right? But if I have a cap on what we can take the rent to there, I'm not going to do that, and I wouldn't even buy the property. And then this mobile home park would get more and more dilapidated every year, and then before you know it, it gets shut down and it's shit completely, right? So, I mean, it's just not a good look. And I mean, yeah, it could affect all properties. I mean, if you can only, do 3 or 5% every year, then I mean, you're just, the values are going to drop because, deals that would sell at maybe a 5 or 6 cap would now be like an 8 cap or a 9 cap. We were looking at a deal in Massachusetts. I looked at it, I'm like, man, this is a pretty good deal. It's a big deal. It's an 8 cap. But after my team sort of called around, they're like, oh, yeah, it's rent control. You can only raise the rent 3% per year. And I'm like, okay, well, why are you even doing this? Because inflation with, if you believe the numbers, I think it's lower than that now. But if you believe the numbers, who knows what it's at really? But you're getting killed, right? Like, so you have no incentive as a property owner to do anything in that case.
Yeah. Do you find any of your favorite markets that are leaning towards rent control at all, or are you thinking of pivoting on from that, or is everything looking okay so far?
Yeah, I mean, so far Florida, I'm pretty confident in Florida. I love the Florida market, Central Florida market. That's where mostly I am. Um, I don't see it happening. There have been talks about it in certain, municipalities, but I don't know. I mean, it does scare me a little bit for sure. Because you get some of these crazies in there that have no business sense at all. They've never ran a business. They've just gotten a check. They've never been an entrepreneur. They've never had to pay payroll or deal with the stress, right? So they just think, oh yeah, it's a great idea. Like, let's do this. And yeah, it does scare me for sure.
I
What other
think
markets are
also
you?
too.
Okay. So go ahead, Jack.
I was going to say, I think also too what they don't realize is it forces you to raise rates a lot higher than you normally would. Because like I know for like myself, I usually only raise rents once or once every couple of years, and honestly, it just happened to be the same place I was talking about earlier. I got people in there at the top of the market. I might not raise rates for 3 years, but if they put in rent control, you better believe I'm going to raise it every year, the maximum amount.
Yep.
Great point. Yeah, I think that's what people like Derek was talking about. You have people making, I don't know if policy, but decisions where, they're either not in the business or they're not thinking how it's going to affect long term, right? They're thinking, I think it's just a kind of a talking point also. So I'm not sure if it's actually even going to be an
For
issue, but I
sure.
think it's just a
Yeah.
political talking point right now. And I think they're just doing anything they can right now to try and get votes and where the situation is at right now. But so Jack, you're in Pittsburgh, how
Correct.
Pennsylvania. So how close was what happened this weekend to where you are? Were you anywhere near the area?
That's in the town or the county I live in. So that was only 20 minutes from where that happened. In fact, one of the people that got killed in that incident, he just resigned from Mark. I'll probably need your help for the correct term, but he was the ex fire chief for
Yeah,
my town.
yeah,
Is that what it's called?
yeah. That's from what I read. Yeah, I think he was
Mm.
the fire chief for the, I believe, volunteer fire department in that area.
Yeah, it was a volunteer fire department, but yeah, he just stepped down to spend more time with his family and stuff, and then you know, then all that happened.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that's even more so, what we're trying to do out here, puts things even more perspective how important it is to kind of, you know, provide a better situation, for the future, right? As far as thinking outside the box and not, looking at maybe one stream of income or bringing in or even retiring early, right? Trying to get out of whatever you're trying to do early, and to enjoy life because you never know what can happen in a very unfortunate incident, and it just kind of puts in perspective what we're also trying to do here as far as getting, financially free and providing a better opportunity for our families.
Yeah, and also for the families that we're renting out to, that's like you
Yeah.
said, that's something that's really big why I started was seeing that, well, I have potential to help out, and I've been learning a lot about this, and it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah. And I think like nowadays you have to do this. Like there's no like you can't it's hard to live off 50 grand anymore. Like good luck. I mean, like even I know even 100, right?
Yeah.
Even, like it's tough depending on where you live. Obviously, if you're in a market where the cost of living is lower, but like I don't know, man, but it's, here like I mean, so for example, I was in Miami probably like 8 months ago. I don't know how anybody lives there on less than 100 grand a year. I mean, at
Hmm.
least. And you have to have some kind of side hustle. You got to be doing something in real estate. You got to be doing something. Otherwise, life is not going to be that fun. Money is definitely not everything, but it, solves a lot of problems, makes life more fun. I can go do more fun things, and yeah, I mean, you got to get something else going these days.
Yeah. Some bonehead just popped in the chat. Brett Bisbor. He's a firefighter also. Or he rides the ambulance a lot, so I don't know if I can call him a firefighter. But he's here. Thanks. I'm just kidding, man. Thanks for always stopping by, man. But how do you decide? I'm actually trying to get him to start it because he has a pretty big portfolio, and I'm trying to get him to share his story more, but he's not ready to do it yet, I think. But let's see, we got a question. How do you decide when to diversify your portfolio? I don't think none of us. I think. Wait. So trade better. Are you still have stocks and other things? You
Yeah,
do,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That was my first choice in going into everything, and so honestly, I've pivoted away from stocks towards real estate, and I'm still staying in there for now, and things are going well. I mean, it's going to be a weird few months, but as of now, I'm buying a little bit more. I'm seeing really good trends for. I know a lot of people are poo pooing tech, but it's still there's a lot of growth in the future. I'm really focusing more towards AI. I'm focusing towards what uh, picks and shovels can be used to really grow. So that's
Mm.
you know that it's one of those things that real estate's going to benefit from AI, and I'm trying to find which ways that we can really, and especially the trades. I think there's going to be some big uh, measuring, and I'm just trying to figure out what method I can use for that.
So we've got some more people popping in. We got Mandy stopping by. Thank you for always stopping by, Mandy. So she's in Pittsburgh. So Jack, I don't know if you've connected with her yet, but she's also in the school community. And then Joel from Strive for 25 is here. So he's been pretty busy, but that's another. He has a good YouTube channel podcast. I put his link in the comments too. So Derek, that's actually someone you might want to reach out to. Joel's a lender in Missouri, but he also has a kind of an Airbnb type unit in Florida in Destin.
Mm.
I don't know how close that is to you, but it's another guy to maybe hop on his podcast or something. But thanks for always stopping by, folks.
Yeah.
But yeah, diversifying, that's always the big question, right? It's like, like Derek, you're strictly mobile home parks, and oh, Ike is here. What's up, man? Another firefighter. We got a bunch of firefighters popping in today. But yeah, so for me, I honestly I just like real estate because it's kind of easy to understand, and it's something that I enjoy, but I don't love it. That's the big question too. Like Zuber talks about, do you love real estate? And I don't love it as much as some of the other people in the community where they're on calls like 5 hours a day, just chit chatting about real estate. I enjoy it, but I like more the connections that we're building and having fun like that. So as far as diversifying, it's more like I want to build a solid base, and then I might start dabbling in other things more for kind of enjoyment and see if I like it, and maybe get into more smaller fix and flip type stuff, but just see if I enjoy it.
That's kind
I
of
like more the
what I
YouTube
want to do
side right
also
now.
is
Yeah. No, go Jack.
Yeah,
oh, I was saying that's kind of what I want to do also is once I get my base situated and have X amount of dollars coming in a month where I can make a living off of that. I was planning on trying to do like a little hobby farm and do like three or four flips a year, because the thing is, it with my background and just what I've lived or what I've done in my life, I can easily do the kitchen and bathrooms, and those are your two biggest, most expensive rooms in the house. And after that, I can hire out, I can run all the electrical so that all the electrician has to do is just hook everything up. You're saving him time, so you get save money there. Basic plumbing, I can do that, and then just have the plumber come and inspect it all. The only thing I really don't want to do is sheetrock. It's just too hard. It's just too hard on you. I mean, since I used to do auto body work, I mean, I could easily do sheetrock, but it's not worth it.
Yeah, and then
You get
Brett
tired of
said
holding drywall above your head.
yeah, Brett is working. He's doing rentals today, replacing a water heater, wire a dryer, and working at the RNC for our buddy Trump. Yeah, protect that
Go
man,
Brett.
please. Yeah. But Ike, we did a live earlier this week, and maybe you guys can chime in a little bit. But Ike's kind of question that we talked about was kind of like networking, going to events. He feels like he's somewhat of an introvert. Like, what's your guys' thoughts on maybe you guys have any tips to maybe get out of that shell a little bit? And when you go to these events, like, how do you maybe, connect with people while you're there?
You can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Okay. No, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's simple because I'm naturally introverted. So I kind of just push myself through. It's like, okay, this event's happening. I'm going to talk to 3 people. And if I get a connection, it'll go further. If not, that's really, I'll call it a win for the night. And that's usually what I do. But it gets
Yeah.
easier. No.
Yeah, for sure. It gets easier. And I would just say, like, I'm naturally an introvert, and I tell people that, and they're like, no freaking way, dude. Yes, way. But it's a muscle, man. So you go to the gym, you train your biceps, you can lift 10 pounds today, you can lift 30 pounds after you do it, right? So it's just like that with going to talk to people that you don't know. You have to continually do it. And I sold insurance door to door for 9 years, right? So I had to do it because it was the way I made my living. It was 100% commission. So I kind of got out of that, and sometimes it's still uncomfortable for me. But I'm saying, like, I think Ike had the question. You just have to, and I know you're going to be like, oh yeah, whatever, but you got to go and do it. Just like Harrison said, go to the event and say, hey, I'm going to talk to 3 people, and just do it as soon as you get there, because the more you think about it, the more anxiety you're going to have about doing it.
Yeah. And stay away from the wall. It's like, you can always want to be on the outside, but just kind of bring yourself right in the middle. And all of a sudden it kind of works itself.
Yeah, Curtis had a good, I forgot what it was, but I think he said pages. Was it page or pages? But he just said like prepare. I forget. I gotta go look at that. Go check out that live. Go watch the replay. But Curtis had a great breakdown of what he does. For me, and I joke about it a lot, but maybe I use Crocs as an icebreaker, right? Like for me, Crocs is my thing, but I use that, people are going to see you wearing Crocs and like, what the hell is this guy wearing? So, but it's a good way to kind of get the conversation started and whatnot. So, that I always bring it up, but it's kind of my thing, I guess. So that's what I like to do. What about you, Jack?
I liked what Ned Talk said. I think he said on your channel the last time or time before, but he said go to a group of community, or go to a community where you, like for example us, an REI meetup and stuff. Just go out and start talking to people, because one of them won't be an asshole.
True.
Yeah.
Very true. You'll just find, like even at the one rental at a time event in Vegas, I mean, it was just, everyone was just, yes, everyone got along, but you kind of saw how kind of little pockets were forming, and, people were kind of connecting in a different way. So it's always fun to go to those things. So that's why next year's event is going to be, I think it's going to be a good one. But so Derek, you should come check that out too. It's going to be in Vegas.
Yeah, for sure, man. Just let me know when it is. I mean, events are, I'll tell you something here really quick on you. So there was a networking event probably, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe that or so, that I went to. I was hesitant and I'm like, I don't want to go talk to these people. Most people are just getting drunk, flirting with girls. We're not going to meet anybody of quality here. So me and my buddy went, we met this guy and became friends with this guy. This guy was one that introduced me, years down the road, to one of my biggest capital partners that helped me scale really fast. So like, you're one relationship away from getting to like, oh, that relationship can kind of take you to the next level. And I think that was like the only person I talked to that night, maybe a couple of others, but you know, they can be huge game changers for you, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I love that. Another good thing that we talked about during our interview, Derek, I liked, was you kind of recommend investing close to yourself, right? Like you said, when you start, invest near you, and that's your kind of recommendation. And you want to kind of dig into that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, like, me personally, I mean, in the beginning, you buy your first, park or property. Like, if you have a duplex or something, you're not going to be able to afford to pay a manager. I mean, you're just not, unless you have a bunch of rentals. I mean, you're just not. If you buy a small mobile home park, you're not going to have the money to pay a manager, so you're going to have to manage it. And I like being within driving distance. If code enforcement shows up or something stupid, like, I can go there and deal with those knuckleheads, right? Or if something happens, I can go. And I just think in the beginning, you need to understand the nuances of the property management aspect of it. And so you're not going to be able to train a property manager if you don't know how to do it yourself. And so I like getting, I think it's good for people to get in there and figure it out on their own, because then that'll allow them to scale and hire someone later.
I like that.
But people
When you
do
go
it
to look at,
without being close, by the way. Sorry, Jack, go ahead.
I was gonna say, when you go to look at a trailer park, what are some of the things that you look at?
Yeah, I mean, the location for me is everything. So I know the markets that I'm in, right? I know the markets, and so like I know what the price per pad should be in this market. I know what the lot rent should be, but you know, generally I look for mismanagement. A park that's been owned by mom and pop for 30 years, 40 years, they have their financials on handwritten on paper or something, if they have any at all. They've got tons of equity in the deal, like the deal we just closed on last week. The seller's dad gifted her the park. They hadn't raised rents in 15 years. Like it's all profit for them, right? They didn't pay anything for it. So I look for deals like that. And again, it's market too. Like I love great markets, because you can just get saved by the market. But mismanagement is one. There's a bunch of other things I could talk about for like ever, but that's one of the things, Jack. But also, I think too, one of the things that you said about the PIA factor. If it's going to be more of a PIA, it's got to be cheaper, and the upside's got to be higher. And if it's going to be less of a pain, then my team better not have to be there that much. It better be pretty easy, right? So there's like a balancing factor there.
Yeah, sometimes boring is the way, right? I mean, you don't want to take on too much headache, and especially in the beginning, right, when you're getting your feet wet. So I think that's a great point. As far as pivoting, it's so hard to determine when's the right time. But I think that's why it's good to be around people that might be a few steps ahead of you, even people behind you, and seeing what they're seeing. Um, but like, let's see, we have a question. How do you avoid making the same mistakes in the future? Hmm. Anyone want to go? I made a lot of mistakes, so I can say a lot of stuff, but
I mean, sometimes you just are. It's one of those that it's the same mistake in a different form. But I mean, for the most part, it's just learning from what you did with your first property, or when you were doing your first research. It's like, oh, well, the electrical box is in bad shape, or it's 50 years too old. Be sure to double check that next time. Or if what is it, gas? Is it electric? I mean, what kind of items that need to be replaced right away? It's more of those. It creates a double checklist for you for the next property.
I think the biggest
Yeah,
thing is realizing you made a mistake. I think so many people, they just keep barreling ahead, right? They don't really acknowledge that they may have made a mistake. And I think it goes back to that ego tax I was talking about earlier. Sometimes people don't want to admit that they made a mistake, or they could have done something different, and they're just like stuck in their way, like, oh no, this is the right way to do it. I'm gonna keep doing it this way. And that's the biggest thing, is sometimes you're putting too many obstacles in your own way. And I think it's really just allowing yourself to realize that, hey, mistakes are going to happen, but as long as I keep learning from it, it's going to get better. And you're never going to completely be mistake free. It just becomes easier to deal with the mistakes down the road, right? Mistakes are always going to happen, and problems are always going to happen, but it just really becomes how you handle it, and it gets easier to handle. I think that's the biggest thing. But Jack, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say the same thing as Derek. Just it could be the same mistakes, but very differently. And it's just, you have to try and make mental notes to not do the same mistake again. For example, the fuse box, like he said.
Yeah, and one thing
My biggest.
I'll say that. Sorry, go ahead, Jack. I thought you were
No,
done
no,
there.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, I don't leave it up to chance anymore. if we make a mistake in due diligence, it goes on the list. We write a policy on it, like, hey, we are not going to do this again. We are not going to, whatever it is, like X, Y, and Z again. We make sure that's written, so we know, staff knows, property management knows, like everybody, because I made a ton of mistakes in the beginning and screwed up a bunch of stuff and didn't do this and kept making the same mistake. So document it. I wouldn't even mental notes are good, but put it in writing. So put a folder on your computer, your Dropbox. Hey, policies. Hey, this is what we're not going to do. Like, we need to do it this way this time, whatever it is.
And you kind of talked about it earlier, Derek, about like money. Money's not going to be everything. It's not going to cure everything, but it does, solve a lot of problems. And I think that also comes back to, having proper reserves, right? Money, making sure you have reserves to deal with certain mistakes that may come up or problems that happen. So same thing, right? Money is not going to solve everything, but it definitely makes the process a lot easier. So if you plan with proper reserves, and that's the same thing, right? If you keep doing this long enough, then the mistakes become easier to handle and deal with, and you just keep learning from that. But definitely having the reserves makes it a lot easier to manage.
For sure.
Yeah. So Jack, what are you working on your YouTube channel right now? What's the next video coming out, man?
Should be coming out Friday. I'm shooting for. I actually want to try. I was having trouble. I wanted to download that video, that the last one I was on with you,
Mm-hmm.
and it won't let me make shorts out of it. But I don't know if it was because I was trying to do it at work and my work computer was all screwed up, because they're like the cheapest of the cheap. Because I would go to download the video, and every time it would just download the thumbnail.
Oh,
So, but I think it might be the computer. I was going to try it again later today with my regular computer and see how that goes.
cool, man. Keep doing it, man. You got to just keep grinding it out. And so, like, Derek, what
I
about
should-
you, man? What is your podcast, and what is the plan for all of that?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff with it. I mean, I'm going to keep it going. It's a lot of work for sure. I think it just, allows me to get more known in this industry. Like I might have told you on my podcast, but a couple of weeks ago, I went to a dinner with some guys, and I walk in, and this guy was like, Derek, nice to meet you, man. It's so good to finally meet you. I'm like, I have no freaking idea who you are, but he listens to the show, right? And he's like, man, I've learned so much from your show, blah, blah, blah. We're buying a couple deals now. And yeah, I think that's just, to keep doing that, keep providing a lot of value. And it's good for, like, if I talk to a new investor, I'm like, hey, go check out my podcast or whatever. And, I talk to people and they already know me without even like knowing me. So if someone that's, looking for investors and raising capital for deals, like, it's harder for me to convince Jack to invest with me if he doesn't know me. But if Jack's watched my podcast and he kind of already knows me, sees me posting stuff on social media, there's already like a connection there. So that's kind of we're going to keep scaling that and doing more stuff with ads and things. And who knows?
Cool. Trade Better's coming out with one, I think, soon. So
Yeah. Hopefully the next few weeks, and then also going to be interviewing some local realtors and investors in Akron. So yeah,
Nice.
trying to get that all laid out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Aren't you doing something with Chris?
Yeah. We're actually meeting up. Yeah, Chris and I are meeting up this weekend. So we're gonna hang out and talk for a bit and figure out more investments in Virginia. So
Cool. Yeah.
yeah, it'll be fun.
But Jack, I love your thumbnails. And so Jack, you're using the Opus still yet, or no? For the clips.
Yeah, I was using the Opus.
What's that?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying how simple it is.
So Opus is the kind of a software to spit out the shorts for you. So you just upload or download or whatever you want to call it to the link, and then they come out with the shorts for you. And then you might have to edit a little bit for the how the people's faces show up and things, but it kind of just makes the clips. It already puts the captions for you if you want to use them. You can put the B-rolls in it, so it's pretty cool. It's pretty easy to use. Yeah, I like doing the YouTube side. I like just having fun and connecting with everyone. I definitely like the lives a lot more. The lives are way more fun. But everyone's sleeping, I think, today.
The
We don't
lives
have much.
are a lot easier.
You think so?
Just from my experience, I found that they're just a lot easier overall.
Yeah, they're a lot
The other thing,
easier. No, go,
the other
man.
thing I'll do sometimes is when it comes to having for example, like if I see an article that I find interesting, I've realized trying to read the article, I'll start stuttering and everything else, and then it goes down a wormhole, just a crappy video overall. So what I started doing is I have the AI read it for me if there's an interesting article,
That's right, man.
and Cynthia actually ended up naming it for me because she's like, well, she's like, oh, well, that sounds like a female. I was like, yeah, so it's a computer. She's like, it's Sarah. Oh, okay. Well, I guess it's Sarah on my channel now. So whenever Sarah gives me an article, it's the AI reading the news article.
I like that because, kind of going back to Ike's, question earlier about, networking and going to these events and being an introvert. So I don't know if you guys follow Curtis, PE turned RE. He has a cool YouTube channel, but, for himself also, he has kind of a speech condition. And Jack, you somewhat do also too, right? But how are
Yeah.
you using that, comfort level to get around that, right? I mean, like you're saying, you use AI. Curtis says it has to make him prepare better, right? Because he knows that, he's going to have these kind of issues that come up some once in a while. So it helps him, he has to prepare better going to things to be able to communicate better. So is that what you find? Like you're saying, you're using AI to get around this, but is there things that you use to kind of turn this maybe somewhat, challenge for yourself into more of a positive?
I think the big thing is it makes me slow down and think through what I'm going to say before actually saying something. And like I said, I really just use the AI just for the news articles that I pull because I know at some point I'm going to end up, getting my tongue stuck or start slipping and stuttering. And once I start, it's too hard to stop. So that's why I'll use those. And the other thing is I've noticed too is I've gotten better at my writing. Like I've never been a good writer, but like summarizing these articles, because like there's that one video I shot about beach view. Initially, that video was over 45 minutes long, and I didn't even want to listen to it after so long because it was just way too in depth about all these people, and I realized a lot of these people that are journalists and stuff, they try to get you every single fact, but then these articles become so blown out in size that no one wants to read them. So I took that 45-minute video and I got it down to 7 minutes.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, Hugo's here from Stay Winning. What's up, man? So Derek, if you don't know him, go check out Stay Winning Podcast. He has a cool YouTube channel. I would tell you go check him out on X, but he got suspended. So we're trying to free this man right now. We don't know why he got
Suspended on
suspended.
X?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know what happened. But
I
he's on.
want to see what he said now.
He hasn't got a reason yet. We don't know what happened, but he's
That's
still
weird.
putting out cool content on his YouTube channel. So go check
Yeah.
that out. He does real estate. He does crypto stuff. Yeah, go check him out. But yeah,
Nice.
Jack, I love what you're doing, man. I definitely love that you're consistent with it. Can't wait to Harrison get started. But yeah, Derek, I totally agree, man. It's fun, but it's also like you're saying, right? Sometimes it just helps people connect with you and know what you're doing, and I think it saves time also, right? Like you're saying, they kind of have a background of what you're investing in or what your strategy might be. So instead of you having to go through the whole story of explaining yourself and explaining your portfolio, it's kind of like, hey, go check out my podcast or my YouTube channel, and they can kind of get an idea. And now when you sit down with them, it kind of saves you all this time, and kind of get more into the the meat and potatoes of what you guys want to talk about.
Yeah, and even too, like with people you meet at a networking event or whatever, you friend them on Facebook or Instagram, and like I talked to somebody I hadn't talked to a month ago, and probably we hadn't talked in a year, and they're like, Derek, I feel like I talk to you every day because I see you on Instagram every day, and I'm like, good, that's kind of the point because it's more follow up for the people that you meet too, and these deals that we just got done raising money for, all new investors, and I'd have to look at the exact numbers, but quite a good majority of them were people that just, I'd met through my podcast or had reached out to me through the podcast. And they're like, oh, yeah, I'll put in 100 grand, talk to you one time. Yeah, it's fine. And so that's huge. It's huge.
That's yeah.
Yeah,
The one
that's
thing I've noticed is that the real estate community is much nicer than a lot of the other communities. Because I know, like, I used to have an outdoor channel and stuff, and there were people that would come on and send me emails and stuff, just ripping me apart, be like, "I can't believe that you did this, and you could have potentially hurted that tree." And I'm thinking to myself, I tied a cinch line to a limb, and he watched me cut it out of the tree at the end, so like the tree's perfectly fine. Or I used to show hunting videos. I showed in one where I got a turkey, and this lady was just like, "I can't believe I'm never watching your channel again." I used to believe it, like, and that's the one thing that they don't realize on their end. We build up this connection, but when they come to us, we don't know who they are. And that's the one thing I learned really from the outdoor channel is that kind of stuff, you can't let it bother you,
No.
because they're mad in their mind that you're not who they think that you are. So they're mad because they're losing a friend. Meanwhile, you more than likely were never friends with them because you never talked to them ever.
Yeah, true. And I can always tell when to back up your point. I mean, even in the real estate community, I can tell when my short or a reel is hitting, because like especially on YouTube, I'll get emails that like, hey, you're getting these comments, and they'll be nasty, like, oh, you're a piece of shit landlord. I think one like all landlords should have their heads on a swivel or something like that. I'm like, and of course their avatar is not their personal face. It's some like sci-fi cartoon or something. Like,
yeah.
But you can't, Jack's right. You can't, I at first I was like, I don't really like that. But now I'm like, this guy's a loser. If he's gonna really take the time to comment on my video that he watched all of, by the way,
Mhm.
and say something just stupid without even having his name or face on his profile, whatever, man. He's got bigger problems than that.
Well, I mean, he's half right. Your net or your head should be on a swivel. Just keep an eye out for the next deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that goes back to the whole ego tax thing too, right? I mean, people are sometimes they get worried about the comments that come to their feed and what people are thinking. And like you're saying, a lot of times it's just trolls out there or people that are not happy with their life or what they're doing, and they don't really understand what you're doing. Like Harrison talked about earlier too. Like, you're providing housing a lot. I mean, of course, yeah, there is slumlords out there, and there's people that are probably not, having the tenant's best interest, or trying to provide something livable. But for the most part, and especially the communities that we're in, I mean, most people are trying to win-win for both people, right? Provide a nice safe place for their tenant, but at the same time, yeah, I want to build better for my future, right? So I think that's the one thing is we were really, and that's why it's also same thing. We go back to being in the right communities where people can be like, you can kind of vent maybe this comment that was written in your YouTube channel or your feed, and other people, oh yeah, I got that same comment, or it's nothing to worry about, or don't even bother with it. But yeah, it's funny how people out there are just, they're kind of, they're kind of in their own bubble, and they don't really understand a lot of these situations, and they just think, landlords are evil and all these things. But that's what's fun about this community is everyone kind of understands your jokes, maybe in a sense. Oh,
Yeah,
Jen has stopped by. Morning, Jen. Go ahead, Derek.
I was just going to say, if you look at like, if you're caring so much about what people say, I mean, why don't you take a look at, like Mr. Trump, half the world, maybe not half, maybe less than that, does not like him very much, actually probably hates him.
Yeah.
And then the other half loves him. Like, it's just whatever. Right. So I think about that. If you think your comments that you're getting are bad, he's getting just berated like on Max for not every day, the last 10 years, 8 years, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I think about. And then also I was watching an interview with Dan Pena. You guys know who he is?
Yeah.
Yeah. He said something, I forget what he said, but they were talking about something and he was like, do you think, can I curse on here? I think I
Oh, go
already did.
ahead.
I
Go
already
ahead,
bleeped
Go
man.
it.
for it.
Yeah, I don't care,
Well,
man. Go ahead, man.
says, do you think Elon Musk gives a fuck about what people think about him? I'm like, that's a great point. He don't. He definitely doesn't. And so those are two things I think about. Like if I'm, the comment thing, or also if I'm like, man, I really don't want to call this guy for whatever reason. I'm like, who cares? Like, you got goals, you got a vision, you got things you want to accomplish. Like, I don't care what this guy thinks to me, whatever.
Yeah. So like Crocs makes you build thick skin, right? So you wear
Exactly.
Crocs, man. People are like, "Who's this idiot?" And then it helps you strengthen yourself. But yeah,
Do you wear socks with them?
I do not. Okay, that's going too far. There's
Okay.
no socks with Crocs, all right? That's a little too far. Well, actually, okay, let me change that. Actually, I do when I'm at work because that way I don't have to like if we get a call, then I don't have to throw my socks on. My socks are already on. So that'll be the only time. But yeah,
There are Croc sneakers, so I'm just saying.
that
And,
is
Really?
and
true.
business
There is.
Crocs.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What?
Yeah, man. It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah. There's so much. Yeah.
They've come a long way. Go check it out,
Wow.
man. Don't see
Jack, are
you're
you a
limiting
Crocs guy?
yourself.
I used to wear them when I was kayaking and stuff.
Well, you're gonna have to pick up a pair when you come to Vegas, Jack, for the ORAD
Definitely.
event. If not, I'm gonna pick out a pair for you, and you're gonna get like
Ooh.
gibbets all over them.
Dude.
So can you give us an idea what kind of logo is being worked on? I mean, do you gonna give us a somewhat of a sneak peek, or is it gonna be just a surprise that Sierra's working on?
I'm not really sure how to explain it. It's going to be kind of simpler. I want to keep it simple. Something that's what I was telling Sierra was that I want to keep it simple so it's easy to put on a shirt. It'd be easy to print without losing any of the detail. Like I didn't want the Pittsburgh skyline or anything difficult. So we chose to go with the Three Rivers and we're incorporating a couple other little things in it.
Cool. Well, Jen says everyone in the One Rental at a Time community is a superstar for doing the work. And yeah, so Jen, she came out of her shell. She actually did a live, her and her husband, and some other. It was like a couples one, so we had some couples on. So Jen did great. She says she's an introvert, but she kind of, yeah, she's not an introvert,
Wow.
but she did great. So I'm trying to get her back on, or even start her own channel.
She definitely stole the episode on that one.
She did, right? Well, plus because her camera, her camera was like spinning around. Like she got a call and she was on her phone doing the recording, and she kept getting calls, and so she'd come back on, and her video was spinning around. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't know if you guys got anything else you want to chime in about. If I got maybe about 5 more minutes, I can go. But this was fun. Thanks for doing this, Derek. I mean, we'll do this again. Get on some lives.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love doing stuff like this. So anytime.
Yeah. Anything else? You guys? Any final words from any of you?
No, it's Derek, very happy to meet you for the first time. I've been following your stuff a little bit and maybe reaching out to you to ask more about mobile home parks.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. Be happy to chat.
Actually, Derek, do you have any? I know you had a webinar the other week, right? Do you have another webinar coming up soon, or?
No, not scheduled yet, but if you go to my YouTube channel, we did a deal underwriting webinar. We talk about the nuances of like underwriting a mobile home park and how you look at it. So that's is a free webinar, and I believe it's on YouTube, on the YouTube channel now. So you can go check that out. And I'm on all social media platforms. So, you can find me on any of them at Derek Vickers 885.
Hold on, man. Hold on. I got it. I got your YouTube channel coming up. Got your Instagram coming up.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Nice.
Yeah, man. Try to promote everyone. There's your Instagram. I think I only got your LinkedIn also. What do you think about LinkedIn? You like LinkedIn?
Oh, look, LinkedIn, like, all right, here's my thing with LinkedIn. So I like look, it's a social media platform. I'm gonna use it, but like it's so cheesy and corny sometimes. Like people I see some guys that I talk to that are like, oh, so like their LinkedIn post. Okay, this is their LinkedIn post. Hey, congratulations. I'm so happy that we're doing this and that. It's so, and then you talk to them in person, like, oh yeah, we fucking bought that deal and fucking did this and that. Like the complete opposite person. I'm like, dude, just be yourself, man.
Yeah.
Just be yourself.
I always feel I'm underdressed when I go into LinkedIn. I feel like, man, everyone's here so like serious and like, I don't know. It's not as fun. I like X because X I can just say whatever I want.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, man.
I
Thanks
like
for doing
X
it.
and YouTube. Those are my two favorites, I think.
What do you mean? You're barely on X, man. I don't even see you there.
I like to stalk more on X.
Well, you can stalk, but you need to like and at least comment on my stuff. You can't just stalk. You gotta, because I don't know whether to tag you in the thing. Like today's live, I didn't know whether to tag you because I don't know if you're gonna share it or I don't know if you're gonna, So you gotta comment so that I'll tag you in it.
I'm trying to get better at X, and that's why I wanted to do a lot more of the short videos because I was actually trying to do more of the shorts on X and leave YouTube for more of the longer content.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Let me know. Let me know it works. I mean, yeah, it's cool. Well, thanks for doing this, man. We'll do this again. We'll try to make Derek a regular on here maybe every other week. Trying to rotate so 1 week is kind of certain people come on, then next week will be a different group, and then try to rotate in and out and get more people on here. But it's getting hard to schedule everyone now.
so busy.
Yeah, more people want to do it. I think people just like the live. The lives are way more fun. You don't have to really you can kind of wing it and kind of just have fun and say whatever you want. So trying to get Jen on. So Jen, throwing that out there when you got to get a come on again and do it. But yeah, thanks for doing this, man. And we'll do this again, everyone.
For sure.
Thank you for having us.